The alien princess realizes the fighter who won the war is her childhood friend. Best HFY Stories, the twin sons of Cirith. 9 hung low in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the wide desert plains. The wind blew softly, carrying tiny grains of alien sand that shimmered like starlight. From the palace spires, Princess Leora watched the horizon. Her heart felt heavy, yet restless. After years of war, the humans had finally come, victors of the long struggle that had left her planet scarred and tired. The human fleet arrived with a quiet power. Ships of strange shapes and bright metals glided across the sky, moving as if they knew the desert had waited for them. From below, soldiers dismounted, wearing dusty uniforms, wide hats that shaded their eyes, and belts that carried more tools than weapons. They had the confident air of wanderers and lawkeepers, the type who could survive on the frontier, wherever it might be. Among them, one figure caught Leora's attention immediately. He rode a hoverbike across the dunes with smooth, effortless grace. Even from far away, she noticed the tilt of his head and the careful way he scanned the land. It was a stance she had seen somewhere before, though she could not yet place it. "Kale," whispered the voice in her memory, though she told herself it was impossible. Could it really be him? The boy she had once known, the one who ran through these deserts with her in laughter and mischief, the one who had shared secrets beneath the glow of Sirath, 9's twin moons, was now the man who had led the humans to victory. The reality felt strange, almost unfair. How could the child she remembered, the friend she had treasured, now stand as the hero who conquered her home? Her guards watched her carefully from the spires, their expressions formal and alert. Leora had grown used to these watchful eyes, but today she felt a stronger urge to slip away. She needed to see him, to know if the figure riding across the dunes could truly be the boy she once knew. Quietly, she stepped out of the palace, her flowing robes brushing the sand, and moved toward the landing plains. She kept low, behind dunes and strange cactus-like plants, until she reached the humans. From here, the details became clearer. The man's face, partially hidden beneath his helmet, carried a familiarity she could no longer deny. The same sharp eyes, the same easy confidence, the same half-smile she remembered from childhood games. Kale dismounted near the edge of the crowd. Children of Sirath. 9 approached him, cautious but curious, and he crouched to their level. His voice was warm and patient, and the kids giggled as he pointed out a strange desert bird nearby. Leora watched, her chest tightening. She remembered that laughter, innocent, carefree, the sound of endless summer days, long before the war. She stepped closer without realizing it. The humans were focused on their duties, negotiating supplies, coordinating with local leaders, checking maps etched on glowing panels. Kale's attention shifted from task to task, yet his eyes scanned the horizon constantly. It was the same way he had once looked for her in the playgrounds, or for the hidden nooks where they had shared secrets. And then he turned. Their eyes met. Just for a moment, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Recognition sparked across both faces. Leora froze behind the dune, uncertain. Her pulse raced. Could he remember her? Could he know that she was the little girl who had once called him a friend? Kale's gaze lingered, and his lips curved into a subtle smile, the kind of smile that seemed to carry memories. Leora felt a warmth in her chest, the kind that comes when you see a familiar face after years of separation. Her first instinct was to run to him, to throw herself into the comfort of a bond that had survived childhood, war, and separation. But caution held her back. She observed him as he spoke with a human officer. He was careful, polite, respectful to the leaders of Sirath. 9. Yet there was a quiet authority in his presence. He could command without raising his voice, and he carried himself with the weight of someone who had seen the galaxy in ways she could hardly imagine. And yet, to her eyes, he was still that same boy who had raced her across these dunes, chasing dreams of adventure and freedom. The first few humans approached the palace gates, their voices echoing faintly across the sands. They carried gifts, tools, and supplies to help rebuild the towns destroyed in the conflict. Kale moved among them, guiding them to the locals, offering advice, listening more than he spoke. Each gesture was careful, kind, deliberate. Leora took another cautious step forward, letting the sand shift beneath her feet. The memory of childhood returned vividly. The secret caves beneath the dunes, the glittering crystals they had discovered together, the promises they had made to explore every corner of Sirath. The realization was bittersweet. He was not the boy she remembered, but the boy she remembered had grown into the man before her. She noticed how he paused near a low ridge, scanning the horizon with a keen eye. His body language was that of someone used to danger and strategy, but also of someone who had learned patience. She recalled that same patience from when they had built tiny fortresses in the sand as children, waiting for imaginary enemies to pass. "Princess Leora," came a formal voice behind her. She turned quickly, her heart skipping a beat. One of the palace advisors had followed her. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." I just wanted to see them," Leora said softly, her eyes not leaving KL. The advisor's gaze followed hers. "That human? He's the one they call KL, the victor of the war. You mustn't let your emotions guide your actions." Leora nodded, though her mind was already made up. She would approach him. Carefully, subtly, she stepped from behind the dune and walked toward the ridge where he stood. Every step made her heart pound like a drum. Wind carried her hair across her face, the suns glinting off the alien sand like tiny sparks. Kale noticed movement. His gaze shifted, sharp yet gentle. "Hello?" His voice carried across the sand, low and friendly, tinged with curiosity. Leora froze. That voice, it was the same as she remembered. The same voice that had whispered secrets and shared laughter in hidden nooks of Sirith. "KL," she breathed, almost afraid the word would break the fragile moment. His eyes widened slightly. Recognition flickered across his features, subtle but undeniable. "Leora?" Her heart leapt. It was him. It had to be. The years melted away as they regarded each other, no words needed. The crowd, the humans, the advisors, they all faded from view. For a moment, it was only the two of them. Standing on the windswept plains where memories of childhood met the reality of war and peace, Kale finally approached, walking slowly, cautiously, as if testing the truth of this reunion. I didn't know if..." Leora laughed softly, cutting him off. "I didn't think I'd see you again, not like this." Her voice trembled slightly, a mix of joy and uncertainty. The wind shifted, carrying with it the faint scent of the alien flora, and for a moment the war seemed distant, almost unreal. The humans and locals continued their work, the negotiations continuing. But Leora and Kale stood together in a quiet bubble of recognition, a shared history that no conflict could erase. Kale glanced at the horizon, then back at her. "I can't believe it, Sirith. 9 and you, all of it." "I remember everything," Leora said. "The dunes, the nights under the twin moons, the games we played. Do you?" He smiled a slow, genuine smile. "I do." More than I realized. The air between them carried the weight of unspoken words, memories, and feelings long buried. Leora knew that this moment was fragile. The past and present had collided, and now she had a choice. Reveal herself fully, trust the man she once called friend, and risk opening old wounds, or retreat back into the safety of distance. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Kale, I think we need to talk. Away from the others. There are things you should know about Sirith. 9, about me, and about what's coming next." Kale nodded, his expression serious but gentle. "Then let's talk. I want to hear everything." The twin suns dipped lower, painting the desert in shades of orange and pink. Leora and Kale walked together toward the edge of the dunes, stepping away from the crowds, their shadows stretching along across the sand. Childhood had returned, but in a new form, blended with duty, responsibility, and the hope of peace. For the first time in years, Leora felt a flicker of excitement and hope. The war was over, yet a new journey was beginning. A journey that would test their friendship, their trust, and perhaps the bond that had survived the deserts of Sirath 9 all those years ago. And somewhere deep in her heart she knew that seeing him again was just the beginning. The twin sons of Sirath. 9 rose slowly, spilling warm light across the desert plains. Leora and Kale stood on a small ridge overlooking the palace city. From here, the chaos of humans and locals negotiating for peace seemed far away, almost small. But Leora knew better. Even in quiet moments, the shadows of the past and the uncertainty of the future loomed large. Kale adjusted his hat and turned to her. "So you really are the princess?" he said softly. He stopped, as if he didn't know how to continue. "Yes," Leora replied, her voice calm but steady. "I've watched you since you arrived. I knew it was you almost at once." She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "It's strange, isn't it? To see you again like this, after everything." Kale smiled, a mix of relief and nostalgia. "Strange and good. I never imagined I'd come here as the hero who ended the war and find someone I knew from childhood still alive. And not just alive, thriving. They walked down from the ridge toward the palace city. The streets buzzed with activity. Merchants displayed their wares, bright-colored fruits, glowing crystals, textiles with shimmering patterns, and children ran in the alleys, curious about the humans. Kale watched them with interest, kneeling to speak to one or two asking questions about life on Sirith 9. Leora followed silently, smiling at the ease with which he connected with her people. "I want to help," Kale said, "not just with the humans, but with your people, too. They deserve a chance to rebuild." "I know," Leora said, "and that's why I need your help. But there's more things that the humans don't know, things that could make this peace unstable." Kale's expression turned serious. "What kind of things?" Leora led him to a small alcove overlooking the city. She lowered her voice. "There are factions here. Groups that never trusted the humans, even after the war. Some are angry, some are fearful. A few are they're planning something that could undo all the progress we've made. I only know fragments of it, but it's dangerous." Kale listened carefully, nodding. "Then we need to find out who's behind it and stop them before they act. Non-violently if possible." Leora nodded, grateful. "I knew I could trust you." Over the next few days, they moved through the city together, blending in with merchants and citizens while observing the undercurrents of unrest. Kale learned quickly about Sirith, 9's culture, asking questions about traditions, trade, and local politics. Leora guided him, explaining which groups were loyal, which were hesitant, and which might act unpredictably. In the evenings, they would meet in quiet spots atop dunes or near the city's water reservoirs. There, under the twin moons, they would share memories of their childhood, games, adventures, and even the small arguments that seemed monumental at the time. Leora found herself laughing more than she had in years. Kale's presence reminded her of innocence, of freedom, of trust that had not yet been broken by war. One evening, Kale pointed to a distant ridge. "Do you see that?" he asked. Leora squinted. A group of figures moved slowly across the sands, carrying strange devices that glinted under the moonlight. "They don't belong to the humans or the palace guard," Kale said quietly, "and they're avoiding the main roads." "That's suspicious." Leora's heart tightened. "Those are the factions I warned you about." "They're planning something, but I don't know what yet." Kale studied them, then shook his head. "We'll have to be careful. If they suspect we know, they might act faster than expected. We need information before confronting them." For the next week, they watched, listened, and investigated. Using Kale's tactical mind and Leora's knowledge of Sirith 9, they slowly pieced together the factions' plans. The groups were not violent, but their actions could destabilize the fragile peace. They planned to disrupt trade, block water routes, and spread rumors about human intentions. If successful, it could make both humans and locals distrust each other, undoing the hard work of diplomacy. During one patrol through the city, Leora and Kale overheard a conversation in a shadowed alley. Two figures were arguing quietly about supplies and the need to make the humans leave. Leora leaned closer, careful not to be noticed. "We can't let them stay," one whispered. "Our people will lose everything." "But stirring trouble will only make things worse," the other said. "We need a plan that doesn't destroy the city." Kale whispered to Leora. "They're divided. Some want confrontation, some want subtle sabotage." "That's good. It gives us a chance to prevent it without anyone getting hurt." They decided to approach the more reasonable faction first. Leora used her position as princess to invite them for talks. Kale accompanied her, observing quietly while she spoke. Her words were measured, her tone calm, and Kale could see the respect she commanded. Slowly, the leaders of the faction began to see that the humans were not invaders, but allies. After the meeting, they walked back through the glowing streets. "You handled that well," Kale said. "You reminded them of what matters: home, survival, and trust, not revenge." Leora smiled faintly. "And you?" "I watched," he said, "and I learned." "You have a gift for this, for leadership, for making people listen without forcing them. It's impressive." They reached a quiet overlook where the desert stretched endlessly, the twin moons reflected in the small oasis below, casting silver light over the dunes. Kale turned to her, expression thoughtful. "Leora, I never stopped thinking about this place, about Sirith 9. And now that I'm here, it feels like coming home, in a way I never expected." Leora looked at him, a mixture of nostalgia and hope in her eyes. "Home is where we feel safe, Kale. And maybe With trust, we can make this place a true home again. For a moment, the past and present merged. They were children again, racing across the dunes, laughing under the twin moons, free from war and responsibility. But the real world intruded quickly. A small alert blinked on Cale's wrist device, a message encoded in simple symbols. He frowned, reading the brief warning. Leora, someone is planning to interfere with the water supply, soon. Her face paled. Water was life on Sirith 9. Disruption could cause panic, fear, and chaos among the citizens. We have to act, she said firmly. Cale nodded. Yes, but we'll do it carefully, non-violently. We can't let anyone get hurt. That night, they rode hoverbikes across the dunes, moving silently to intercept the saboteurs. Using stealth and clever tactics, they approached the small group of faction members who had planned to block the reservoir. Cale spoke first, calm and persuasive. You don't have to do this. There's another way to protect your people without causing harm. Leora added, we can work together. Humans want to help, not take control. You can guide us, help us make things better for everyone. The group hesitated, unsure of what to do, but Cale and Leora's calm confidence and sincerity won them over. Slowly, the faction agreed to cooperate. Together they devised a plan to strengthen the city's water system and distribute resources fairly, ensuring no harm came to anyone. After the successful intervention, Leora and Cale rested atop a dune, looking over the city below. The first hints of dawn touched the sands, painting them gold and rose. Leora felt a sense of relief, but also a growing awareness of the challenges ahead. Cale turned to her, a small smile on his face. We did it together. Yes, Leora said softly. But there are more shadows, Cale, more people who may not trust us. And more challenges ahead, he nodded. Then we faced them together, just like old times. She smiled at that, feeling the warmth of friendship rekindled, and the promise of something more, perhaps, as they stood side by side ready to protect their home and the fragile peace they had fought to create. The desert stretched endlessly around them, full of secrets, memories, and possibilities. And as the twin suns rose higher in the sky, Leora realized that her childhood friend, the human hero, was not only the key to peace for Sirith 9, but also a reminder that hope and trust could survive even the darkest of times. But even as they celebrated their small victory, a distant shadow flickered on the horizon. Another group, moving with quiet purpose, watching, waiting, and planning. The desert had many secrets, and the story of Sirith 9 was far from over. The twin suns had begun their descent, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson. Leora and Cale mounted their hoverbikes, engines humming softly, and set out across the endless dunes. The city behind them glimmered like a jewel, but ahead lay unknown dangers. The message Cale had received last night about a shadowy group watching them had made clear the peace they worked so hard to protect was fragile. Leora gripped the handles of her hoverbike, her eyes scanning the horizon. Do you think they know we stopped the sabotage? She asked. Cale shook his head, his expression serious. I don't know. But if they do, they won't wait long. Whoever they are, they want control, or at least to disrupt the peace. And they're clever. They moved in silence for a while, letting the desert winds and the hum of engines fill the space. It was strange to be back in motion, racing across the dunes like they had when they were children. Except now there were no games, only purpose. As they reached a plateau overlooking a narrow canyon, Cale slowed his bike. This is a good place to stop, he said. From here we can see anyone approaching from either side. Leora nodded. Together they dismounted and walked to the edge, scanning the sands below. The canyon was quiet, almost too quiet. Then Cale spotted movement. A small group, moving cautiously, their silhouettes just visible in the fading light. They're trying to hide, but not well, he whispered. There are at least 5 of them. They have supplies with them, probably to block water or food routes. Leora frowned. We can't let them do that. But we also can't let anyone get hurt. We need a plan. Cale studied the terrain. We can intercept them here. The canyon narrows so they won't have room to run, and we can talk to them, maybe even convince them not to act.
Leora took a deep breath. All right. Let's do it.
They descended carefully into the canyon, moving slowly to avoid detection. As they approached, one of the group members turned, their face hidden under a hood. Who's there? The voice called, cautious but not hostile. Cale stepped forward, hands raised slightly. We're not here to fight. We just want to talk. You don't have to do anything harmful to your people, or anyone else. The figures exchanged glances, uncertain. Leora stepped closer. We understand your concerns. But disrupting the city, blocking supplies, it won't help anyone. We can work together to make things better. One of the group members, a young woman with bright eyes, spoke cautiously. How can we trust you? Humans conquered our planet. Why should we believe you now? Kale glanced at Leora. Because we're not here to conquer. We're here to help. And because this isn't just about humans or Sirath, 9, it's about everyone who lives here. If we work together, we can protect your homes, your families, and your way of life. The woman hesitated, then lowered her hood slightly. I don't know if that's possible. Some of our leaders want revenge, not peace. Leora stepped closer, her voice steady and kind. I understand, but revenge will only hurt your people. We can find another way, a way that protects everyone and ensures no one loses what matters most. But we need you to trust us. Kale nodded. We'll help you. We'll show you. No harm, only solutions. For a long moment, silence hung in the air. Then the woman finally nodded. All right, we'll listen, but only if you show us the plan yourself. Together, they led the group to the nearest water reservoir, where Kale and Leora explained the improvements they had made, the plans to distribute resources fairly, and how cooperation could prevent shortages. Slowly, the group began to understand that working together was better than acting alone or resorting to sabotage. That night, the group camped in the canyon, sitting around small lanterns that glowed softly against the walls of rock. Leora and Kale sat nearby, watching the stars reflect on the sand below. You were right, Leora said quietly. Trust is the hardest thing to rebuild after war, but it's worth it. Kale looked at her eyes, reflecting the soft glow of the lanterns. You've always known how to lead people, Leora. You don't just tell them what to do, you help them see why it matters. That's why they listen. She smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. And you? You've changed a lot since childhood, Kale. But some things are still the same. He raised an eyebrow. Like what? The way you care, she said simply. The way you think about others, even when it's hard. Kale chuckled softly. I'm glad for that. I've tried not to forget the important things, even when war changed me. They talked long into the night, sharing stories, laughter, and memories. For a moment, the canyon felt like a safe bubble, removed from politics, danger, and responsibility. It was just them, together, rediscovering a friendship that had survived the years. But even in the quiet, the desert was never fully safe. A distant rustle echoed through the canyon walls. Kale's ears twitched, alert. Someone's here, he whispered. Leora's heart raced. Do you think it's the other faction? Kale nodded. Possibly. We need to be ready, but careful. No violence unless it's unavoidable. They approached the noise cautiously, using the shadows of the rocks for cover. Around the corner, they saw a small group moving, carrying tools and containers. It was another faction, more determined and less willing to negotiate. Kale stepped forward, his voice calm and authoritative. Stop! We don't want anyone to get hurt. We can talk this through. The group hesitated, uncertain. Leora followed, her voice steady and reassuring. We understand your concerns. We know why you're upset. But there are better ways to protect your people than blocking supplies or causing fear. Let us help you. The leader, a tall man with a stern face, stepped forward. Why should we believe you? Humans took our land, and your friends may be here, but you don't know what it's like to lose everything. Kale looked him in the eye.
I do know.
I've seen the cost of war, and I'm here to make sure no one suffers unnecessarily again. I don't want revenge. I want peace for everyone. The man studied him, then glanced at Leora. Her calm, sincere eyes seemed to reach him in a way words could not. Slowly he nodded. We will listen, but you have to prove it. And so, with careful planning and honest conversation, Kale and Leora worked through the fears of this faction as well. They guided them to a safe area near the city, showing them how resources could be shared fairly, how disputes could be solved without harm, and how everyone's home could be protected. By dawn, the desert was quiet. The factions were calmer, more trusting, and the city's fragile peace had been strengthened. Leora and Kale stood atop a high dune, watching the first rays of the twin suns touch the sands. You did well, Leora said softly. So did you, Kale replied. We did this together. And somehow, it feels like a new beginning. Leora nodded. Yes, but I know there are more challenges ahead. Others may not be as willing to trust. And some shadows are still out there, watching. Kale looked at her with determination. Then we'll face them together. Whatever comes next, we'll find a way. Just like old times, only stronger now. They shared a quiet smile, the bond of friendship and trust stronger than ever. The long ride across the desert had tested them, but it had also reminded them of something important. No matter how dangerous or uncertain the world became, they could rely on each other. As they turned back toward the city, the sands stretched endlessly before them, full of secrets, memories, and possibilities. The peace of Sirath. 9 was fragile, but Leora and Kale knew that with patience, trust, and courage, they could protect it. And perhaps, somewhere along the way, their childhood friendship would grow into something deeper, something that neither war nor time could destroy. Even as they rode, a flicker of movement in the distant dunes reminded them that the desert was never fully still. Another group was watching, waiting, plotting. But Leora and Kale were ready. Together they would meet whatever came next. The twin suns rose slowly over Sirath, 9, painting the desert in shades of pink and gold. Leora and Kale stood atop a high dune, looking over the palace city below. The air was calm, but the past few days had proven that even in quiet moments the desert held secrets. The factions that had caused tension were now working with the humans and locals, building trust and cooperation. Yet Leora knew peace could be fragile, and she had learned to stay vigilant. Kale adjusted his hat and glanced at her. "You've done an incredible job, Leora. The city feels alive again. People are hopeful." She smiled faintly. Hope is easy to lose, but also easy to rebuild. It just takes someone willing to care, and someone willing to listen. Kale chuckled softly. And someone willing to ride through endless dunes in a desert no one would believe exists. They both laughed, the sound warm against the morning wind. Memories of their childhood adventures returned vividly, racing across the sands, hiding in caves, sharing secrets under the twin moons. Those memories had carried them through the challenges of the present. "Kale," Leora began, her voice quieter now, "I've been meaning to tell you after everything that happened. After the war, I never stopped thinking about the person you were, not just the hero humans call you now, but the boy I knew. The one who cared about everyone, even when it was hard." Kale's expression softened, a gentle smile tugging at his lips. "I never stopped thinking about you either, Leora. Even during the war, when I was far away, I remembered the dunes, our games, you. You reminded me what it was all for. I didn't know if I'd ever see you again." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, the weight of years, conflict, and separation settling between them, but now lighter, almost gone. The bond of childhood friendship, strengthened by shared challenges, had grown into something more profound. The quiet was broken by a signal from the city. Leora's palace advisor approached, bowing slightly. "Princess, the council is ready to meet. They wish to formally welcome Kale as a trusted liaison and partner in rebuilding Sirath." Kale nodded respectfully. "I am honored," he said, "and I will do everything I can to help your people." The council chamber was filled with local leaders, merchants, and representatives of the human fleet. Leora stepped forward, standing beside Kale. Her voice rang clear, confident, and kind. "Citizens of Sirath," 9, she began. "We have lived through years of conflict, fear, and uncertainty. Today we have an opportunity to begin a new chapter. This man, Kale, has shown courage, care, and wisdom beyond what anyone could expect. But more than that, he has remembered the bonds we share, and he has worked tirelessly to ensure peace for all of us." The council murmured, listening intently as Leora continued. "I invite Kale to join us, not as a ruler, but as a partner. Together we can rebuild, protect, and create a Sirath, 9 where everyone, humans and locals, can live in harmony." Kale stepped forward, nodding to Leora before addressing the council. "I am humbled by your trust. I am not here to take control or impose rules. I am here to listen, learn, and help. Sirath 9 is your home, and it always will be. My role is simply to support you in keeping it safe and thriving." There was silence for a moment, then applause. The citizens and council members accepted them both, recognizing the sincerity, effort, and unity in their words. Leora and Kale exchanged a small, triumphant glance. After the meeting, the city buzzed with celebration. Streets filled with laughter, music, and chatter as humans and locals worked together to prepare meals, repair homes, and rebuild infrastructure. Heel moved through the crowds easily, helping wherever he could, while Leora guided the citizens, her leadership calm and reassuring. As evening fell, Leora led Kale to a quiet terrace overlooking the dunes. The twin moons rose slowly, reflecting silver light over the sands. The city below glimmered with lanterns and fires, peaceful for the first time in years. Kale leaned against the railing. "I've never seen Cirith 9 look like this," he said softly. "It feels like hope is real here again." Leora nodded. "It is, because people like you reminded them, and me, what matters. Trust, friendship, patience, and the courage to try even when things seem impossible." They sat together in silence, watching the moons rise higher. Then Leora spoke, her voice gentle. "Kale, do you remember the secret caves we used to hide in as children?" He smiled, a little wistfully. "Of course. How could I forget? We thought they were our kingdoms, our fortresses, our secret worlds."
Leora laughed softly.
"And we promised to always protect them and each other. Somehow, I think we still keep that promise, even after everything." Kale reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I think so too, Leora. Some promises are stronger than time, distance, and even war." For a long moment there was no past, no war, no fear, just the present, peaceful and clear, as if the desert itself had acknowledged their bond. But even in this calm, the desert had its secrets. Far beyond the city lights, shadows moved across the dunes, careful, quiet, watching. Leora felt it instinctively, her senses sharp. "Kale," she said softly, "we've faced dangers before, but I have a feeling there are still challenges ahead. Perhaps not as serious as before, but we must remain vigilant." Kale nodded, his expression serious but calm. "Whatever comes, we face it together. You and I. Friends, and maybe more than that." Leora smiled at him, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "Yes, together." The next morning, the city awoke to a peaceful day. Merchants opened their stalls, children played in the streets, and humans and locals worked side by side. Kale and Leora rode hover bikes across the dunes, delivering supplies and checking on small towns at the city's edges. Each encounter brought smiles, laughter, and gratitude. They stopped at a small oasis on the edge of the desert. Water reflected the rising twin suns, and a gentle breeze rustled the alien plants. Kale dipped his hand in the water, then splashed a little on Leora, laughing. She laughed back, chasing him around the small oasis. For a few precious minutes they were just themselves, free from responsibility, conflict, and worry.